Hello and welcome to the first Africa All Week Digital Lockdown interview. Today we'll be speaking with Adrian Strydom, Acting Chief Executive of the South Africa Oil and Gas Alliance. Adrian, could you perhaps give us an idea of your own background and of your organisation's purpose and aims?
So the South African Oil and Gas Alliance is an industry body, and we basically represent our membership, comprising oil companies, a range of companies, at last count about 250 companies, ranging from oil companies to companies providing services and product into the oil and gas industry. So it's a range of different companies.
And how does your own background look? How did you find your way into the organisation?
Started in the academic world and came into the South African Oil and Gas Alliance more than 10 years ago, and where I concentrated on the development of skills for the oil and gas industry, oil and gas and related industries. So that's how I found my way into the industry.
Lovely. It's something that I know is on a lot of our audience mind. It's South Africa's draft petroleum development bill. What is the South Africa Oil and Gas Alliance's view on this bill? Does it provide the stable investment environment needed for the development of the country's hydrocarbon sector?
So we believe the draft petroleum resource development bill is a move in the right direction. Certainly we have wasted time to get here. But I have complete confidence in our current political leadership to prioritize the oil and gas exploration opportunity for the benefit of our industry and of the people of South Africa. We trust the state will act swiftly to put the bill through Parliament, and that the end product will indeed provide greater investor certainty with the critical changes proposed by industry taken into account. SAOGA has made representations to the Department of Mineral Resource and Energy and the Presidency through Operation Phakisa. So Operation Phakisa is a presidential initiative to fast track the developing of the ocean's economy, and oil and gas obviously is part of that, particularly oil and gas offshore exploration. Allow me to reflect briefly on some of the key considerations without going into too much detail.
Of course.
As South Africa Inc., it is important to bear in mind that we are playing in a globally competitive industry. Investment flows in the direction of maximum shareholder value. Exploration is a high risk activity, is another very important point to bear in mind. All companies have to minimize risk at all costs, and they make investment decisions based on hard factual evidence. Legislative certainty is therefore a key consideration. Fact is, South Africa is not a seasoned oil and gas development country. So we haven't had much oil and gas exploration to date. In this phase of the oil fields development, our legislative framework should have no potential surprises. Legislation that will be based on the draft bill should be clear and reflect certainty and promote trust with potential investors. If we get our legal framework right, it will undoubtedly bring with it much needed economic growth and employment creation in the medium to long term. South Africa is underexplored as a country. Some commentators compare the South African oil and gas exploration future with the gold rush. Legal certainty is indeed a game changer to help us develop our oil and gas industry going forward.
Now, a question that's sort of linked to this a little bit, and I know we had news last week that final investment decision has actually been delayed on Rovuma LNG, but Mozambique still does look set to become one of the world's biggest LNG exporters. What can the South African government and the South African business do working together to ensure that South Africa is able to take full advantage of this?
Absolutely, Kasia. The Mozambican opportunity is an epic one. It's just a huge opportunity that South African industry and the people of South Africa should take note of. South Africa is geographically favorably positioned to benefit from the Mozambican oil and gas opportunity. A number of South African companies are focusing on the opportunity as we speak. We have an active and highly skilled oil and gas value chain in South Africa. A number of thousands of South Africans are currently working in the oil fields across the world. So we have a skilled workforce. Certainly, we need to upskill still on the base, but we do not start from zero. SAHOGA continues to play a leading networking and capacity building role to ensure optimum mutual benefit in close collaboration with the two governments. Access to Mozambique by sea, road and air is relatively easy. We don't struggle to get, as a neighboring country, we have a history of collaboration and friendship across the two across the border.
Perfect.
The Africa Free Trade Agreement will help to provide a platform for mutual beneficial economic participation between South Africa and Mozambique. It is all good and well to have agreements in place. SAHOGA will continue to play an important role to arrange business to business meetings with the active support from government and industries in both countries. With SAHOGA's sub-Saharan strategy, it is well positioned to play a facilitatory role in this regard. In addition, South Africa is a founding member of NEPAD, the New Partnership for Africa Development. Our president is currently the African Union Chair, and South Africa plays a leading role in SADC. So as an organization, we can use those links to continue to serve the interests of our members and industry in the two countries. SAHOGA will continue to harness its links in both countries to benefit our economies on both sides of the border. Together we are stronger, definitely. Local content considerations remain critical on the African continent. An overall skills development pathway was developed under Presidential Operation Phakisa initiative, and we are able to cascade some of these learnings to Mozambique as well. And I think it is relatively easily done because of the the close relations and the distance that is, we're not very far apart geographically. So as I said earlier, we are blessed with a world-class fabrication and construction, ship and rig repair competence in South Africa, and we can certainly, both countries can benefit from using the competence that we have developed over many years. South Africa is a major logistics hub for West and East Africa. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We have a broad base of suppliers with significant track records gained in our domestic and sub-Saharan and West and East Coast oil fields, hungry to serve the Mozambican industry.
We know that currently SALGA is working with a number of South African universities and technical colleges on skills development programs. Could you tell us some more about this?
We basically have a sort of Pakisa framework for skills, skills development pathway that seeks to develop South Africans for the oil fields, at a very high level. But we have started with artisan development, and we were relatively successful in achieving, and we've tested some of the success by interviewing young people who have completed their trade assessments.
Okay.
And we found that around 95% of those young people are employed.
Okay.
So we did a bit of research to find out how successful our initiative is, and we were pleasantly surprised at the success rate. And we can only build on that. We're working with selected universities. We're working with selected universities of technology to, at a higher level, initiate and develop further initiatives such as developing of petroleum engineers and petroleum geoscientists, so that we, down the track, can be ready instead of importing all of those skills. And we understand that initially we will have to import some of the skills into South Africa, but and I think those learnings we can share with our Mozambican neighbors, and see how we can work together to develop sub-Saharan Africa across the board.
Interesting. So when a young person kind of comes into the scheme or starts the initiative, can you just give an idea of how that journey works and how you're involved along the way?
Sure. Our role is particularly to place these apprentices in workplaces for experiential learning. So for the Artisan Development Project, we access apprentices from the TVET colleges and then place them in industry for experiential learning. We have several qualified and seasoned artisans then doing monitoring and evaluating and mentoring of these young people, and we then prepare them for readiness to exit as fully fledged artisans into industry, and that has gone extremely well. I must say it was and it is a successful project. So we could potentially share that kind of learning with the Mozambican industry as well.
The Integrated Resource Plan sets out a path for South Africa to move towards a clean energy mix. But at the moment, obviously, the country is still heavily dependent on coal. How viable and sustainable is it for South Africa to move away from coal in the short and medium term?
Coal will remain a source of energy for South Africa into the foreseeable future. Fact is, we are an energy-hungry continent. This will be increasingly so as we develop our industries on the continent. South Africa should not only focus on energy survival, in my view. As Africa develops, the demand for energy provision will expand, and South Africa is ideally situated and positioned to play a leading role in providing into that demand. The priority is to secure the optimum energy mix for the immediate, so as to ensure energy certainty in the short term. I think that's the immediate issue that we have to battle with, particularly in the light of the coronavirus matter that we're struggling with at the moment. We need to have energy security, and we have to get to the optimum energy mix. In the short term, I see liquid natural gas importation as a sensible source of power generation to supplement coal and to gradually possibly reduce our dependence on coal as a source for power generation. World gas prices have plummeted dramatically over the recent months. This makes using gas, which is 50% less harmful, about 50% less harmful to our environment, and costs a lot less than diesel, a very attractive power generation source. Growing a local gas market is sensible, as it will help us grow a demand for a sustained indigenous gas use in the future. So it will really put us on a path where we will become more and more dependent on gas, and when we then achieve indigenous gas provision, we can switch from importing gas to using our locally produced gas.
Just one last question. Could you explain a little bit how SALGA's partnership with Africa Oil Week works on the South Africa Showcase, and why should South African businesses come to the event?
Sure. The global oil and gas community will be coming to Cape Town. So if you want to remain at the cutting edge of what is going down in the oil and gas industry, you cannot, as a company, ignore the opportunity. SALGA has partnered with Africa Oil Week to help make, firstly, the opportunity more accessible to South African companies. Secondly, we helped inform the South Africa Day to make it relevant to South African companies. Watch the space.
Perfect. Right. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.